We actually introduced a fourth angle, which was actually a straight line. Okay, if it's a right angle, how do we know for certain that it's a right angle? You gotta have a little box in the corner. Okay, if it's an acute angle, how much is it?
Under 90.
Under 90, greater than 0. And if it's an obtuse angle, it's greater than 90, right? And realistically, we can say even over 180 degrees, but we're not going to get into that. That would be more into trig and calculus and that kind of stuff. So I want you to draw an angle that is similar to this. Obviously, it's probably not going to be exactly the same because that's pretty much impossible. But something like this, and let's call, so carrying on from yesterday, how can I name an angle? What's one way that I can name an angle? What? By one letter, and where does that letter have to be? The vertex. Remember the vertex is this point right here, so let's call this angle A.
Are vertices only on squares and stuff?
Not necessarily. So, then your second triangle that I want you to draw is going to look like this. And somebody else said that I can name this by a number, and that number would be in here, right? So I want you to measure your angle A and your angle 2, and tell me how many degrees it is underneath each one of those. Again, it's probably not going to be exactly the same as mine, and if it is, that's just total coincidence. But what we want to do is just practice here. So again, what am I doing? I'm finding that vertex, right? The vertex is kind of the key to it all. Putting my little dot, or mine has more of like a crevice, indentation, I don't know, on my vertex. And then against that flat side goes one of my arms of my angles. And then I just have to see where it ends up hitting on my protractor. So again, this is why our protractor has numbers going both ways. So basically we can do acute or obtuse angles going both ways. And so then you just have to know which one am I looking at. Well, I know that this is an acute angle, so then I have to pick the smaller of the numbers. So mine would roughly be this. Mine over here would roughly be, that's good, roughly that, right? So again, the biggest thing is to know where to put that little dot or crevice, right? And realistically, we want to try to put it in kind of the middle of that vertex or that dot, so we get as close as we can. So again, all I want you to do is be able to practice that. So does anybody need help with any of that kind of stuff?
It was 10 degrees smaller than yours and 10 degrees bigger than yours.
Really?
Yeah. Mine was almost the same on the second one.
Really?
One.
So again, realize that I could have had this same obtuse angle going this way, but then I would just use the bigger numbers on this half. Okay? Everybody good with all that?
Yep.
Anybody need help with that? So you're going to have to do this in your assignment. Now, when you do this in your assignment, I believe there should be some of this. I don't want you to ever take any of these out, but in the assignment, you can use these really little ones because it helps because when it's in the book, it's hard to use those bigger ones. So it's the exact same thing, they're just little guys. Okay? So it helps when you use these ones on your assignment inside the book.
They look like the peace symbol.
Just don't take them with you. Okay? So we'll put those right here when you start your assignment. The next thing that we want to try to do is to actually draw an angle. Okay? So if I'm going to draw any angle, we're going to try to practice this. So number one, we're going to draw a ray. It doesn't matter where it is, but realistically, I'm going to draw it somewhere so it's straight across and it's just down here. What's a ray again? One endpoint and an arrow, right? Okay? So, we're going to start by drawing that ray. Number 2, now you have to actually decide what kind of angle we're going to do. So somebody give me a number.
55.
50. Where I already had 55.
Oh, you do? Whoops.
So let's do 50. So we're all going to do 50. So how do we determine this? Number 2, we're going to put our point, or however you signify whatever the middle is. So put the point on the vertex. Okay? Number 3, we want to make sure that we line up the straight edge. Some of you didn't have an edge, you had a black line on yours, right? And on yours. So you're taking that line or that black line and you're making sure that it's lined up with the arm that's on there. And then you have to find where our number is. So again, now you got to think about, what is my number? My number is 50. So do I want to go over here to the right or over here to the left to get 50?
Right.
To the right, right? Because we want to make it 50 degrees. We want to make it smaller. Now, if you happen to put your end point on the other side, then your 50 would have been in the other group, right? But basically now, so number 4 is you're going to put a little mark on your paper at the angle that you want to draw. Now we all agree that we're doing 50 degrees. So here's my protractor. I find 50 degrees because I know it has to be on this group, and I put a little mark there. All right? So you should have just a little dot or a little mark. And then number 5, we're going to connect the vertex through the mark, or your dot, or whatever it is. So, again, go back to your vertex. This is where the straight edge comes about. And again, try to put that right in the middle, and then go through that point. And then realistically, we should put another arrow in the end.
Looks like arrows.
And so then, maybe then they say to name that angle STR. So if I told you to name it STR, where would you put the letters? T just has to go in the middle, exactly right. So let's put T here, and then some point over here, some point over here. We don't really care where those points are. We're just going to then put our letters. All right? Everybody good with that? So let's practice another one. Let's do, for the second one, let's do 137 degrees. Okay, so go through that process again. I know it's kind of wavy because I should have drawn my arrow somewhere, my angle somewhere else.
You should just erase part of it.
So again, this time, it all depends on where you put your vertex. I put my vertex on the left-hand side, just like our last one. So now I'm going to the left-hand side. And now these ones right here, just kind of got to see if we can get as close as we can to that 137. And then connect my dots or my marks with and then again, if we wanted to name it simply angle K, Now we know what K has to be my vertex. So how do we do?
Good.
So again, the only difference is if you put your endpoint on the right-hand side of your original one and then your arrow, then we would be opened up to the other side. So we can open them either way. It just depends on where you put that initial vertex. Okay?
Yep.
Questions here? Do you want to do another one of either one of those guys?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes. Why not?
ECG. All right?
Those are fine.
So, you got about a half hour. You should be able to get your assignment done before you leave.
We got the numbers.
There you go. There's your numbers. So again, if you want one of these little protractors, you can come